Hello, everybody at WAFLT. We're so excited to be with you here today. This is Michele Anciaux Aoki. I'm involved with WAFLT as a leader, and I'm here with the Heritage Language Grant team, and you'll be meeting them as we present this presentation. We're excited because last year we came and presented on Heritage Language speakers can earn the Global Competence Certificate through this OSPI Heritage Language Grant. And the fact is that we did it. And so we have students that have been earning that Global Competence Certificate, as well as the Global Seal of Biliteracy and our state seal. So in this presentation today, we'd like to just bring you some updates about what we did in this program, how it all worked, and the fact that we just got awarded a new grant with Wenatchee School District for the coming year. So yeah, the goals for this session are to let you be aware that OSPI is funding this type of grant for heritage language programs. They also fund dual language and indigenous language programs, but this is quite new. This is only the second year of this type of funding. We'd also like you to encourage you as language teachers to consider using tools like the Global Competence Certificate through the World Affairs Council as a way to engage any language learner, but certainly heritage language learners in particular, to take their language to new levels, really, is what we're finding. And we think that all language learners will do better when they're engaging with content that's meaningful to them, like the Sustainable Development Goals and global issues and issues around personal identity. So we're going to take you back just a little bit to give you the background of how this all started. Roseanne?
Thank you, Michele. I'm Roseanne Royer. I'm a past president of the Ethnic Heritage Council and one of its founding members, and also a very proud past president of WAFLT. The mission, as you can see, of the Ethnic Heritage Council is preserving and sharing ethnic heritage to enhance mutual understanding. Well, last year, in two of the roundtables, you see that we have roundtables as one of our programs. In two of our roundtables for ethnic community leaders, we focused on heritage languages, on preserving and teaching them. And happily, we had a visitor in that first session, Patty Finnegan from the Office of Public Instruction, the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction, who told us about this grant possibility that led to the project that you're going to be hearing about today. And as Michele mentioned, happily, a refunding of it so that this can go on. The role that Ethnic Heritage Council has taken is really to reach out to the ethnic communities and inform them that, you know, there may be some support out there for what they may be struggling to do to preserve their heritage languages. This project, I think, is a really excellent model, and so that is a real value that it's been to share with the ethnic communities. Otilia Badaboy, who will be speaking about the Romanian portion of this program, is the new president of the Ethnic Heritage Council. And she will continue to, take the role of a teacher in this project, but she will also be the new president of Ethnic Heritage Council. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Roseanne. It's really exciting to be working with you again this year. So what happened is that they came and presented, we found out about the grants, and we decided to take a leap. Of course, remember, this is 2020, in the middle of those early months of COVID. And so we decided right off the bat that we'd do it remotely. These were the first awards, the grants that were awarded by OSPI. There were 6, and ours was with Evergreen Public Schools. So another key partner in our grant was the World Affairs Council in Seattle, which actually covers programming for teachers throughout the state. And I'll ask Ryan to just introduce himself and tell you a little bit about their work.
Thank you, Michele. My name is Ryan Hauk. I direct the Global Classroom Program at the World Affairs Council in Seattle. And we're really honored and inspired to be working on this project and looking forward to another year at the World Affairs Council. We really want to provide opportunities for educators and for students to develop global competence. We're really excited about bringing the world into the classroom. Through professional development and through other opportunities. We also create a lot of resources that we provide to students and teachers on our website website on a host of different global topics. And you can certainly check those things out by going to our website. And our mission is really extended by a lot of the different partnerships that we are able to cultivate. And you can see some of the partnerships on the PowerPoint there. And we're really looking forward to this next year and this continuing project.
Thanks, Ryan. So this is how it came together: Russian, Spanish, and Romanian in this new virtual course that was offered last year for the Global Competence Certificate for Heritage Language Speakers. Here are just a few more facts about what we put in the proposal and how we presented it to students. First of all, we really wanted a project-based curriculum that was involved with student choice, students involved in creating projects that they could work on over time, but that were very language rich and demanding for them so that they would have a chance to raise their language proficiency, especially in literacy, which is generally one of the areas that heritage speakers don't have a chance to develop that much. We were going to offer the whole thing online. Of course, we didn't realize that all of schools would be online through most of 2020, 2021, but boy, the students persevered. And we wanted to personalize so that students' personal interests and their priorities could really come forward in this program. And of course, over the year, the students would have the opportunity to work towards the Global Competence Certificate. So that pretty much describes some of the key features. In essence, we had two ultimate goals for each student: that they would have a chance to prepare the Global Competence Certificate portfolio. They'd be gathering evidence, understanding what it was involved with it, and so on. And we wanted to make sure they could complete their World Language Competency-based credit testing to earn the State Seal of Biliteracy and the Global Seal of Biliteracy. So what were some of the challenges and opportunities that we faced in 2020, 2021? These are probably going to be familiar to any teachers because you lived through them yourselves. The three big challenges were global, the global COVID-19 pandemic. So our classes couldn't meet in person. We were trying to do 3 languages in one program. So we were looking for opportunities to have the languages coordinate and work together in some ways, even though they were all independent programs. And the reality is that students were exhausted from remote learning at school all year. And especially by the end of the year, we just had to kind of stroke them. Please keep going, you can do it. And fortunately, a lot of them really picked up during the summer to complete their Global Competence Certificate or to make significant progress. So would you guys like to tell us about some of the opportunities that we had this year as well?
Sure, I can start, Michele. So I'm Otilia Baraboy. I represent the Ethnic Heritage Council, the current president, but also the Romanian program and the American Romanian Cultural Society. Acted as a fiscal agent for this grant and will do so in the future. One of the big advantage was that because Romanian students, at least for our part, were like so spread out throughout the state, it gave them an opportunity to come together and take a class together, actually. And not only the Romanian students, but meet, their Spanish and Russian colleagues and have events together, such as the information sessions or, the award ceremony at the end, or when they presented their websites. It was really wonderful to see everybody together from the different language programs.
Thank you. Ryan, do you want to say something about the second one?
Sure. I think, what was fantastic about this particular program is it also gave teachers an opportunity to collaborate with one another. And I think in this context, through the lens of language, we were able to share a lot of different project-based ideas, and we could discuss, things that were going well and things that we were challenged with. And I think anytime you have an opportunity to collaborate, not only sort of within a school, but in this case, across schools and across districts and across our state, that was really a great opportunity.
Thank you. Pedro.
Hi, my name is Pedro Lopez Chavez. I teach the immersion program at Chief Self International High School for Seattle Public Schools. And yes, I would like to very briefly talk about this opportunity, because we wanted to make for the students to enjoy this opportunity, they don't have the pressure like they have usually in class, like the grades, the credits. They don't have anything like that. They were able to do things at their choice, of course, trying to encourage them as much as we could. And they could always opt like, okay, I'm gonna try to take the global seal of biliteracy or not. I'm gonna wait for the state seal of biliteracy. The good difference is that with the global seal of biliteracy, they can include that when they start applying for college or for university. On the other hand, with the state seal of biliteracy, they can't because they don't get it until the end of the high school. And also another opportunity is like when you present the option of this project, it doesn't end with the school year. The students actually last week or by the end of September, the students still presenting their project for the global competence certificate. So it's a very understanding the students' time frame, so we make it easy.
Thank you. Yeah, that was exciting for us that we were not under the usual kind of pressure for schools to produce the results that are required by anybody else. It was really, it was a huge opportunity, to be honest, from the state legislature, the funding to OSPI to undertake something that was our vision of possibility. And we were taking a lot of risks, but it paid off. So here are some of the learning opportunities for students and teachers. Ryan, again, why don't you say a little bit about some of the World Affairs Council workshops we did?
Sure. I think one of the series of workshops that we did, I think that was quite helpful, were a series on the Sustainable Development Goals, which are very applicable to a wide range of issues. And what we really wanted students to think about is making these connections between the local and the global. And the global goals, as they're called, really provided students an opportunity to investigate a goal that they were particularly interested in. So that could have been climate change, it could have been ending poverty, it could be gender equality, it could be education for all. And so hopefully we had an opportunity to bring some of these issues to students and pique their interest. And then they could then use that as a way to go about their global competence and their language. We also annually have something called the World Citizen Essay Contest, where we provide a prompt to students on a global issue, and students research and write and think about how they might take action to address that particular issue. And we wanted to integrate that also into this program if possible and really encourage students to participate. And then we also provided a number of workshops, just providing support in terms of how you might build your Global Competence Certificate website, which were really interesting in the end to see how students had put those together. So those were some of the things that we've done, and we're looking forward to doing more of those this upcoming school year.
Definitely. So some of the support that we got from the state for our heritage language grant was a monthly professional learning community that met with all of the grant recipients. So we got to learn what Highline and Yakima and other districts that had grants were doing, and also share what we were doing. So that was really interesting. Our team also met approximately monthly, and we just shared what were challenges. Sometimes it's challenges of recruiting or making sure that students have the right technology, especially for some students where they were very reliant on district technology. They might not be able to easily access everything that we wanted them to access, like some of the websites or Canvas where we ran the course and so on. So we worked through a lot of technical difficulty or tough technical challenges. Also, since this was the first year, we were kind of creating what would this global competence certificate portfolio in more than one language or in a heritage language look like. And so everybody was kind of learning as we went. I think now we all have a much better idea of what that kind of thing can look like. We also presented, just as we are presenting now for WAFLT 2021, we presented last year, was kind of our first presentation, and also at the Global CRED conference in December of 2020. So finally, we got through the whole year. It was wonderful. We could go on and on about all the different experiences, but here are just a few highlights. So June 29th was our closing ceremony, and we did that by Zoom, of course, like everything else. And it was just a wonderful program, to tell you the truth. So one of the things is that all of the students received this certificate of recognition. Here's one that Alex Iliescu received. And so you can see all the partners there too. So just for participating, completing, and getting to the close of the program, they were able to receive this certificate. In addition, most of the students were able to arrange to take remote proctored testing in their languages. So we had 13 Romanian students, 7 Russian, and 5 Spanish, who were able to qualify for the 4 competency-based world language credits and proficient for the Washington State Seal of Biliteracy. And I just mentioned that, some of the challenges, especially at the end of the school year with students with their access to their computers, or thank goodness Chief Sealth was actually able to arrange for some students to come on site and have proctoring there so they could complete their testing. So we will hope to go back and catch some of the students that had trouble arranging for testing last spring, just because it was June. It was, the end of the school year, and very challenging. But like I say, the students persevered. Now, a lot of the students also, in fact, any of the students that qualified for our state seal of biliteracy had met the required proficiency level to earn the global seal of biliteracy. The global seal is more global, obviously, general. It's national and global, actually, at this point. Students of any age, including my age, can complete assessments. They have to do a language, plus they have, 2 languages, basically. Usually it's English and another language, to have results. And then they can earn the global seal of biliteracy. There's multiple levels. The 2 that are most relevant for our students are the functional fluency, which is intermediate mid, people that can pretty competently use the language, but not perfect accuracy. And that's the same level as our state seal of biliteracy. The working fluency is for students who reach overall advanced low level proficiency. That's the same level of proficiency that's required to be a certificated endorsed world language teacher in our state. So it's very impressive when young teenagers are reaching that. And indeed they did. Here's what the global seal of biliteracy looks like. And Victoria was one of the first who managed to complete her testing and earn that. So the global seal is actually free to get the certificate. We chose to also purchase the medals, so the students would have those just to enjoy. Here are a couple more from one of our Spanish students and one of our Romanian students. And you can see that both of these actually reached, both Vicky and Stefan reached the working fluency level. That meant that their English and their Romanian tests were both at least advanced low or higher in order to reach that level. So that's super impressive. So here's just a big congratulations to all of our students that earned the global seal of biliteracy this year with this grant. And like I say, there are a few more that probably will be able to do it if they're able to come back and join us this year for testing. So congratulations, a little applause for all of them. That's a great accomplishment. So as I mentioned earlier, the other goal of the goal of the grant was for students to have the opportunity to work toward the Global Competence Certificate. So we described it a little bit earlier, but it's a project that we had started collaborating with the World Affairs Council and Seattle Public Schools, and we piloted it first with our International Schools Leadership Team in 2016, 2017. Pedro has used this Global Competence Certificate with his classes for several years, Ryan as well. Do you want to just say anything about your experience using it with your regular classes?
Well, I could say it couldn't be a very, very deep work, but we would do it for the last month of their senior year after taking the IB test and everything. And they would be very encouraged, and they would value and appreciate their participation in the immersion program. Always they would try to connect their presentation with their experience and their skills, being able to communicate in 2 languages. So it was very interesting.
Yes, and Pedro, I just want to add to that is kind of part of the point. Part of the reason we pursued doing this originally is that we felt that we needed something to really entice our dual language students to continue in high school to take courses that were in their language. Most of them are in Spanish. There are some Mandarin and Vietnamese and Japanese programs as well in the state. But it's so tempting. They can reach the level for the state seal of biliteracy by end of 8th grade often. And so we want them to continue because we want them to get to the advanced level, and we want them to keep deepening the areas that they can feel confident to talk about. And the Global Competence Certificate allows them to do that, and also to do a lot of reflection, personal reflection, thinking about who they are, how they identify, and actually some of what I've noticed in the presentations is how grateful they are to the opportunities they've had in school and some of the wonderful teachers who have worked with them through the years. So Ryan, do you want to say anything about your school and your work with that?
Sure. I'll just say a couple of things. I think for my students, it's been really a nice opportunity to really, as Michele, as you mentioned, I think it's really a reflective process. And I think it really gave students an opportunity to connect and apply not only those things that we're doing in my classroom, but also connect their learning to other courses, but also their learning and experiences outside of the classroom setting. And so I think the kids really appreciated the opportunity in a project-based way to really reflect and to more authentically kind of think about their learning as it relates to the idea of being a global citizen or being globally competent. So it was received very positively. Thanks.
Right. And what we're seeing with the presentations and the websites that the students from this grant have created is that they are global citizens. I mean, they've had unique experiences growing up, you know, bridging at least two cultures, sometimes many more than that, actually. And so this is a tool we think that really helps pull that out and make the most of it. So we designed the Global Competence Certificate with sort of three key competencies or components: global learning, international engagement, and language and intercultural learning. And we've got resources on the World Affairs Council. Anybody, actually any student is welcome to do the Global Competence Certificate. And we will probably be having workshops through this year to encourage students who are interested to go ahead and jump in. And we benefited so much during this grant from one who had come through in March of 2020 when we first started doing this during the COVID period, Santoshi Pisupati from Lake Washington School District. She completed her Global Competence Certificate. She was, I think, just a 10th grader. And she did so much to encourage the students. She was very inspiring. So I see these stories of students inspiring each other as being very valuable. So anyway, without further ado, we're just going to take a quick tour through the Global Competence Certificates from the students who have earned them in the last several weeks with their presentations and their websites. And many of these will be allowing us to share their websites or certain pages from them, so that will be a resource to students going forward in the next grant. And of course, we have Romanian and Spanish so far. We don't have any Russians yet, but we do have other projects that Russians have done, and we hope that will lead to the Global Competence Certificate too. So these are some of the things that we also shared at our closing ceremony in June. We do have a Heritage Language Voices WordPress site that we have started posting some of the student work to. The student work where it's not their website, but it's their shared website of things that are coming from students in this program. There were several interesting presentations from the projects that the Russian students did. Here are a couple, and I'll show you another a little bit more detail in just a moment. Here's a page from Alexa, one of the Spanish students' Global Competence Certificate. And as Pedro mentioned, the experience, she wanted to write about the experience of being in the immersion program. It meant a great deal to her. And she and many of the students are creating their Global Competence Certificate websites bilingually, so that they're both in Spanish or Romanian and English. Maybe the English is just a summary, but it's enough to make it accessible for people that don't speak the language to get a taste of what that student is interested in and all about. Here again was one of the projects from one of the Russian students. And this was super interesting, how life changed for people in Russia and the United States during the year of the COVID-19 pandemic. So again, comparing two different places that are experiencing the same devastating event that we were all going through this past year. And again, here is this participant certificate that we gave to all students. We felt this was really important to acknowledge that they chose to be in the program and stick with it. So even if they did not feel confident testing and to earn the global seal of biliteracy right now, they would have this recognition. And if they felt like they maybe didn't have time to put into the global competence certificate, we just kept telling them, you've got time, you can continue to work on it and do it whenever you're ready. We felt that was very important from a social emotional perspective with just what everybody was going through. So here are just a couple of reflections from two of our teachers. Louisa Turner was the paraeducator from Evergreen Public Schools who worked with the students that were in that district. And then Pedro Lopez Chavez, you just met here. And so he had already left for Spain at that time. Are you able to see this if I bring up this Vimeo? Is that still sharing okay? Oh, you know what? I think I have to share with sound. Let me just reshare with sound to make sure I've got that. I thought especially Louisa's remarks, because this was all new to her. She's not from the Seattle area. She was from Evergreen. And so it was really, and she had to do all this stuff without seeing students in person or even seeing colleagues in person. So I'm just going to play this just very short. This is Michele Aoki with the Heritage Language Grant through Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction in Evergreen School District. And I have Louisa Turner with me here, who has led our Spanish group of students at Evergreen working on the grant this year. Louisa was just going to tell me a few words about what it's meant to our students to have the opportunity to be part of this program.
Hi, Michele. Yes, I'm so excited to be able to, first of all, to work with the students this year. Such a challenging year, but at the same time, I'm so glad that the kids or our students had the opportunity to live this experience. And not only that, they can get a certificate. The thing is, they can be themselves. They can express themselves. They can show who they are and how proud they are of their heritage, their culture, their language. And it's been, for me, it's such an eye-opening for me, because sometimes we don't think about how the students feel when they are talking about a project or doing homework, I will say like this. But as you hear the students saying, I feel different, I feel proud, I feel confident after working in this project, believe me, it's such a rewarding thing to do and to be a part of it.
So I'm not going to play Pedro's because he's here so he can add his own comments to go forward, because now what we want to do is talk about, that was kind of what we did last year. And now we got the very exciting news that OSPI was hoping that we would apply for the grant again. And they encouraged us to partner with Wenatchee Public Schools. Evergreen was not able to partner this year because their director of bilingual ed had retired right after our grant in June, and they had a lot of things to try to pull together. So we're just beginning to gather all of our information. You can see we've got Wenatchee Public Schools 2021, 2022. And so we're going to just take a moment to give you a little highlight of what each instructor is envisioning for this year. We'll start with Otilia for Romanian.
Yes, these are the events that some of the events that we organized last year. This year too. This past school year, we followed the principles of heritage education that recommends that the content that you bring to the classroom is actually community-based. So we organized our events in a way that would be of interest for the students that enrolled in this class, because we're not only a school, so our organization is also a nonprofit that organizes cultural events. So that was the big advantage there. So we had, here you can see an image of, the sky is the limit. We invited a researcher, Diana Dragomir, who discovered a few exoplanets. So everybody was so excited about this, to meet her, and they prepared questions. There's a way, the practicing an interview, with someone requires you to use a certain type of language. So this was an opportunity for us to discuss, details about formal language. And then we had another event with another explorer that went to the Amazonian jungle, Luminica Cuna, and then another researcher, former researcher at NASA, Ioana Cosmusa. So they were all members of the Romanian American diaspora in the US. So this way they could identify with what they did and kind of aspire, be inspired and also aspire to do, to push their limits. You have here Gina Bădescu, who is actually, she lives in Washington State, but she's climbing high altitude mountains like the Everest or Lhotse. So they were so excited to meet her actually, and she was up on the mountain when she met with them, so that, but they asked her questions and they were kind of trying to figure out how she can be a medic, actually to be a doctor, and then do this on the side and then start all this process when she was 45 after she had a car accident and she couldn't walk. Both her legs were broken. So it was like really, they were role models. So we're trying to find exceptional, Romanian Americans that could inspire them to want to learn more about this resilience, and this, how these people succeeded in their field. And then we have here, you have another event called DOR. So it is a book launch. DOR, and it's a concept that Romanians think would be untranslatable. There are versions of it in Portuguese, saudade, or earning in English, but it was very interesting that almost all the students chose to write about this example, actually. So I'm sure that everybody who listened to their presentations learned about this concept. And I think it's very intriguing when you compare languages and you think, oh, there's some words that do not translate well in other languages. So we provided a variety of activities that would instill a reflection on language, on their heritage, on the American Romanian diaspora, so they could better find models that could help them feel that they belong to a bigger community. And that's again at the core of heritage education.
Wonderful, Otilia. That's what you did last year was amazing, and I know next year will be as well.
Yes.
We have a new member of our team this year, Alexei Kuznetsov. He has worked really closely with our previous instructor, Svetlana Abramova, with the University of Washington Star Talk program for Russian for a number of years. And this particular summer, I was able to attend the conference where his students were presenting about science fiction. That was one of the projects that they did. And Svetlana recommended Alexei, so we're thrilled to have him join the team this year. So tell us some of what you have in mind.
Thank you, Michelle. It's an honor to join the OSPI grant team and to learn from so many experienced multilingual educators. My name is Alexei Kuznetsov. I am an ELL teacher in my day job. I teach at Renton High School. So I know what it means for my students to retain the language and not to have an opportunity actually to do that in an academic context. As Michelle mentioned, I taught several projects at Star Talk. This year was actually my third year teaching it, but I had an opportunity to present my own topic and actually develop that. In my free time, I also do some research in philosophy of education and culture. So I try to kind of blend those interests into this project, and we saw amazing results from the students. Michelle, would you mind maximizing the window? I just have such tiny
got you. Yeah, let's see
font over there. Thank you. this year, I will be the lead teacher for the project, but I'll be building on the curriculum which Dr. Svetlana Brown would develop. We'll be collaborating with my colleagues, but the goal is in the end to engage our heritage learners, and it feels like motivation requires us to be very creative. First of all, because our learners have this multiple knowledge systems that they bring to the classroom and don't have always an opportunity to share when they go to a monolingual English-speaking high school, at least when they don't have the opportunity to use the language in the classroom. The content and just the skills that we require of students need to be relevant, and then also the course needs to be accessible. But in the end, what we're aspiring to do is to develop identity and let the students explore the world, as it has been mentioned several times. That way, building on that, I decided to create this interdisciplinary project, which would bring together, a wide range of interests that students have. Thank goodness science fiction allows for that kind of broad field of exploration. The choice of topics is really abundant. So we saw in those projects how students were wondering what the cars will look like, or how communication will change, not from the point of view of technology alone, but again, how the society will be communicating differently in the future. Some of the students really went deeply into the philosophical questions of, will there ever be peace in the world? And it was just very inspiring to listen to their thoughts and their strivings to, kind of bring up those topics in front of, different publics, whereas they're not speaking the language maybe that confidently yet. And the project uses a variety of authentic media, which ranges from, movies and cartoons to scientific journal articles, and, the genres which the students can explore in their bibliography day, during their bibliography day, was also wide, so the students could always find something of interest and then reflect on that together in small groups, and then with me as the teacher. And the topic itself presents a chance for each student to consider their own perspectives in the future, and inadvertently touches upon the issues of global living in our multicultural society. Finally, I just wanted to promote the session I'm doing it at the WAFLT conference as well, which is Teaching Heritage Learners Mending the Cultural Divide. So that will be a live session where I'm inviting you to kind of reflect with me on the role of the heritage learners, playing in this world, and how we're redefining that role, because that's exactly what I saw as a result of the project, that those learners are ready to take charge, to find a different sense of belonging, and to look, and reassess the generational trauma that sometimes they inherited from, their parents, or somehow, they kind of see and inherit from the society around them. Looking forward to working with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexei. That sounds so exciting. And Pedro, what have you got in store for your students and for all of us?
Yeah, well, what is going to drive us is going to be any opportunity that comes up. That's what I want. I want them to be integrated in the community at any level, local or more global. So what I want to do basically is for them to advocate for themselves. One of the first tasks that we had last year, and I will keep for this year, is a video presentation for them to reflect, to value what they are, who they are really, their identity, their background. I think that's a good point to start for them. That's very valuable. And from there, cultural involvement, not only for them to go deep into their own culture, but also to investigate cultures throughout the world. So things that they were able to develop last year, they participated in the FUTS Cultural Fest, organization that they have in Seattle, and they partnership with other countries. They participated also in the World Citizen Essay Contest with the Seattle World Affairs Council, the Escribo en Español contest, also that was created by the Council of Education, the Spanish government. They also were asked to do an individual research about global issues, also through the United Nations, the goals that we have for the sustainable development. And also, I remember in the beginning of the school year, we were able to record a roundtable with the students for the global CRED conference in December of 2020. I mean, from there, anything that comes, I would like to also have some guests to attend some classes, also for them to value the heritage in this country. That's what's gonna be inspiring us.
Wow, Pedro, that sounds great. So here's some contact information for these lead instructors, plus Ryan Hauk and myself. And before we sign off, I would love to hear if Roseanne has any comments she wants to add, or Ryan, or anybody else for that matter.
I would like to say one of the things I think is so critical in these projects that have happened, and the students' performance, which has been phenomenal, and that is that it is statewide. And it makes me think about people who have done international careers in Washington, D.C. or other international capitals. They come back home to, say, Washington State, and I've heard this from several, and they don't really seem to quite fit anywhere. They're too knowledgeable. They know too much. They've had experiences that are really different from many of the people around them. Where do they fit? Where are they going to get a job exactly? And I'm not sure that they're necessarily connecting with each other. And I think about the latent power in these young people who've got their heritage language, not really any assurance of where they can keep taking that. And yet we have their, future diplomats and people that are really going to be needed out there in the world. And I'm telling you, the performances I saw, the depth of knowledge, is thinking, the creativity of the students who won these, seals of biliteracy and global competence. I surely their parents must be very happy about this, but it just makes me think, how do you do more of this? Because this is almost like students going to an international school. They're connected with each other, and at least they have this place in this program. They've had a place where they can encourage each other. And it's really exciting that the 3 languages also got together. So you almost are developing this kind of group that a lot of these people who have worked internationally don't have. That's a really wonderful benefit from all of it. And I have to say that one of the things that just really struck me, that just really got to me, was that these students who talked about their portfolios and having completed this work, when they were speaking, it was as if they actually felt like it was their duty. This is my duty to say this to you. This is really important. And I have to say this, and I have to do my best to say it. And just like they were doing their very best. I mean, right down to the junior high student who's Romanian, I don't remember her name, who won the contest, so this is just it's an experiment, but it's really, I think it needs to have a lot of support. I think that this is a doable thing for more people. And the project-based part of it is really excellent. It's really, really motivating, I think, really meaningful for the students.
Thank you, Roseanne. Roseanne, you've got such a depth of experience on the international level, Tashkent's sister cities, and you name it, so many different things. Ryan and Otilia, you both represent the organizations that have the potential, I think, to take forward the kinds of things that we're trying to experiment and create here. Do you have any last comments you want to make?
I would just say, I mean, Roseanne, you really summarized that well, synthesized why this particular project is so meaningful, we hope. And again, from the World Affairs Council's perspective, you know, the opportunity to partner with other organizations that have, in some ways, a very similar mission, makes the project even more robust. But maybe in terms of what we're doing here in modeling in Washington State, maybe then this will become a model to, you know, other school districts, other communities and states across our country. And so that's, you know, really I think maybe the larger impact perhaps. And Otilia, maybe you have something.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Thank you, Ryan. I do have, our school is actually online, so it's nationwide, the Romanian school, because of the pandemic. So we have students from all over the US who are asking about this program. And I'm sure that if the World Affairs Council, you know, could arrange something, you know, at the national level, the Romanians would be totally in, like 100%. Like you saw them, they were so eager. Being Romanian is a lesser taught language. This is actually the first time. It's really historic for us that we get to be in such a grant and to get grant money from Washington State. And I don't think this has ever happened elsewhere. I don't think so. So I think you would have a, you know, like a smaller language, you know, that is, you know, spoken throughout, you know, different communities, that you would have the support of the community. And I think this is totally a model, like Roseanne said, and Ryan, that we could export, you know, to other communities.
I also, Michele and all, this deserves, I don't know, I mean, Michele, your energy and your leadership in this has been absolutely crucial, but this needs to go beyond just government support. Industry should know about this. This should be supported by, you know, the business world, that here you have people, you know, who potentially can be your, you know, your workers on an international level, and have a tremendous depth of knowledge, you know. So it just is something that I think, I don't know how it will happen, but it definitely, I think, is a model or something that could be advanced somehow or other. But all these things need money, you know, in the end, they need money. So.
Well, we're fortunate that, you know, we have a chunk of money that is way more than anybody has ever given us to do this kind of thing before. So we're grateful for what.
Congratulations, that's fabulous.
We have, you know, it's a labor of love too, but it's also a heck of a lot of fun. The students are so inspiring and exciting. So we're ready to be off and running again. It's going to be the same website, so it'll be easy for us to get the word out to everybody. So keep it tuned. And if you know of any students that are heritage speakers of Spanish, Romanian, or Russian, think of inviting them to be part of this program if they're high school students. So thanks again, everybody, for doing the recording, and we'll hope it's a great WAFLT conference.